Hey everyone, I'm Tassenix and welcome back to another mod guide video. This time we'll be covering 8th Brother. I've been working my way through the Inquisitorius faction, so we've gotten to this point and he's one of the punchiest attackers for the team. We will go ahead and assume that if you're running this in Grand Arena, the best leadership is going to be Third Sisters. I've got a reduction of that leadership up here on the screen. We'll review that first and then dig into his kit. So Riva's leadership is Harbored Aggression. Inquisitorius allies have 40% max health, 20% offense, 30 speed, and are immune to stun. At the encounter start, and whenever an Inquisitorius ally or an enemy dies, all enemies are inflicted with 5 stacks of Purge, maximum of 6, which cannot be resisted. Inquisitorius allies always crit against enemies with 5+ stacks of Purge. And whenever enemies recover Prot or gain Prot up, all enemies lose 2% defense stacking, maximum of 50%, until the end of the encounter. With the Omicron applied, whenever an ally or an enemy dies, all Inquisitorius gain defense penetration up for 2 turns. Whenever Purge is dispelled during an enemy's turn, that character, excluding Galactic Legends, gains Death Mark for 2 turns, which can't be dispelled or resisted. Alright. Let's jump into his kit, starting with his base unique, Patience. At the start of battle, if all allies, a minimum of 3, are Inquisitorius, this character gains 20% max health, max protection, and potency. If this character is stealthed at the start of the turn, this character has plus 40% defense penetration and offense while stealthed. Whenever an enemy damages this character with an attack while attacking out of turn, that enemy gains a stack of Purge, max of 6, which can't be evaded or resisted. Whenever Purge is consumed or dispelled on an enemy, this character gains 3% turn meter. Alright, his next unique, Hunting a Shadow. At the start of battle, 8th Brother gains Stealth for 3 turns. Whenever 8th Brother gains Stealth, he recovers 20% health and protection. Whenever 8th Brother uses any of his abilities during his turn, if he had Stealth at the beginning of the turn, he loses Stealth and gains Accuracy up and Potency up for 2 turns. If that ability was Whirling Strike or Photon Grenades, so let's see, that's going to be his basic and his first special, he inflicts a stack of Purge, maximum of 6, on any enemy damaged by that ability. Okay. Alright, let's talk about his basic, Whirling Strike. If 8th Brother did not have Stealth this turn, he gains Stealth for 3 turns. Then, deal physical damage to target enemy and, if the target is a Jedi, inflict 1 stack of Purge, max of 6, until the end of the encounter, which can't be copied or resisted. So it is noteworthy that this applies the Stealth before doing the damage, because it says you gain the Stealth for 3 turns, then, deal physical damage. So that means that, all things being equal, you shouldn't be getting counterattacked for this. That's nice. Alright, his first special, Photon Grenades. If 8th Brother did not have Stealth this turn, he gains Stealth for 3 turns. Deal physical damage to all enemies and inflict Accuracy down and Burning for 2 turns. Jedi enemies damaged by this ability are instead inflicted with Blind and Burning for 2 turns, which can't be resisted. Nice. And then his second special, Bladed Hilt. If 8th Brother did not have Stealth this turn, he gains Stealth for 3 turns. Deal physical damage and consume up to 5 stacks of Purge. For each stack of Purge consumed this way after the first, deal physical damage again. With 1 stack consumed, inflict healing immunity for 2 turns. 2+ stacks consumed, inflict speed down for 2 turns. 3+ stacks, inflict ability block for 1 turn. 4+ stacks, inflict buff immunity for 2 turns. And 5+ stacks consumed, inflict armor shred for the rest of battle. These debuffs cannot be resisted by Jedi enemies. And I just wanted to double check. Yeah, so there was nothing else with that one either. So you can see that this ability does not consume Purge, but this one does, okay? So that's important to remember. Alright, let's talk about team comps and turn order. So if you've been seeing the other videos in this series, the way that I have this first row 5-man team lined up is my preference for turn order. Seventh Sister kicks off the fight with being able to dispel what I hope is the taunt on the enemy team. Fifth Brother comes next, throwing his AoE, which dispels all enemies, removes all their buffs, and has the opportunity to apply Expose. Then Eighth Brother getting to go. Now, you'll use that Photon Grenades, that first special first. And, if you've got some potency baked into his mods, you'll be able to land a lot of debuffs on non-Jedi enemies. But I don't know that I put too much emphasis on that. But the idea here is that he's going to hit hard and leave, burning, possibly blind, depending on who you're fighting. Grand Inquisitor comes in next with his AoE, does physical damage again, and also applies vulnerable. And that's important because, if there's any reason why people don't have high stacks of Purge, at least 5 on the enemy team at this point, then when Reva goes and can do her AoE, it might not crit. But Grand Inquisitor being just ahead of her means that he'll use that AoE, which, in addition to being physical damage to everybody, ability block, it also has the opportunity to put down vulnerable. Guarantees a critical hit if able on the target. So then Third Sister comes in last, doing her AoE, and as we covered in her video, if you have the Omicron applied to that second special, it reduces the cooldowns of all Inquisitorious allies by 1, so it's just fantastic having her last in the sequence. I cover some more details about these compositions in the Reva video, so again, I'll point you back there. But the short answer for the rest of this is, if you didn't have Reva, you might consider running this composition under Grand Inquisitor's lead, or perhaps Fifth Brother if your Grand Inquisitor is very weak, something like that. Ninth Sister will be your tank here in lieu of Reva. In 3 versus 3, this is definitely your best team, Reva, GI, and Seventh Sister. So Eighth Brother's usually not featured in that way. But let's say again that you didn't have Reva. You might consider a division like these 2 teams that I've set up here, right? So you'll have a Grand Inquisitor lead with 7th and 9th, and maybe a Fifth Brother team with 8th and 2nd. These, the first team is certainly miles better than the second, but you're able to make use of all of these characters and resources that you've invested into them, one way or the other. So even if you find yourself in the position, you need to set down a B team, you can't afford to place anything nicer, you've already got these characters built up in 3 versus 3. You could set them down. It's not the best defense, though, but this is kind of just an archetype, an idea. All right, let's go back into his mods. I do have mine on screen, but before we cover mine, I wanted to show you a couple more intelligent options as well. Let's go ahead and throw this up. Let's minimize this. All right, there we go. So these are Aesop's mods. Now, just as a high level, as a damage dealer, he's going to be effective in either offense or crit damage. Excellent players at the top of the game go either way. So I'm not really going to sit here and tell you that one is just straight up far and away better. But we can see that while maintaining the turn order, so that's what's most important. As far as speed goes, you just want to have it within that turn order that I showed and do the best you can. After that, you're looking to stack as much offense as possible with a crit damage triangle and ideally a protection primary circle. Even though there is a % health gain from Reva's lead, and there is 20% health and protection gain through his own unique, Eighth Brother will offer the most total survivability to himself and to the health equalization afforded by Grand Inquisitor by running a protection circle. So I do recommend that. And we can indeed see here on Aesop's mods, he really emphasized trying to stack some protection here while putting no attention on health at all. So yeah, this is a pretty big boy. Now, in this offense setup, at Relic 9, again, this is going to be like 11,715 offense. So you figure in an offense set, maybe at Relic 7, you could safely take off like 1,200 offense, something like that, 1,500 offense. So what, 10,200, something like that, maybe at Relic 7? Scale yourself as you will. You'll see that he made no particular emphasis on adding potency. So yeah, the fire and all that stuff from his debuffs they're nice to have, but in my opinion, and granted, you know, when that fire ticks, it would be based off of his own offense, off of Eighth Brother's own offense. So that would hurt even more to have him in an offense set this way. However, he has an abysmally low potency, and I don't think a lot of effort is well spent in trying to jack that up. That said, let me turn over to mine. So mine is in a crit damage set. So my point of view is this guy's gonna get mostly like 2 turns in a fight. Like Inquisitors are not here to play. They're usually closing out a fight pretty fast. And so him getting 2 turns is pretty surprising. Him getting, to exhaust both of his specials and then getting around to use them again, not the most likely outcome. So that said, if I can ensure that I have a very high crit chance, and also, I'm over 100% crit chance as you see here, but again, under Riva lead, while enemies have 5+ stacks of Purge, everything I do is critically striking anyway. So I kind of have myself covered from my own mods, and then I know that under Riva I should be cool. So mine's considerably faster, but again, it's all about being within respect to that turn order, okay? So don't worry so much about the speed. Again, crit damage triangle, speed arrow, just like Aesop, this helps me keep in that turn order that I want. I have seen some players running like a wicked fast offense primary arrow, and if you could do that, if I could do that, I would. I would absolutely do that. If I could maintain the turn order I want, because this boy slaps. So yeah, in the end, I also have, protection primary circle, offense primary cross. But the reason I went with the crit damage set is I'm expecting him to really just get these 2 turns, and I want him to slap as hard as possible. Now you'd have to sit there and actually do the math. Ooh, this isn't updated. Let me see if I can get that to update again. Okay. So if it's synced, you're not quite right. Oh yeah, you're definitely not right. Well, anyway, the point. Why are you showing it with a hole in the bucket? Here, let's go back to this screen, because I know I don't have him missing a mod in this view. There we go. All right. So yeah, about 342 speed. Very little health added. I tried to stack on a bunch of protection for that team life total reason I mentioned earlier. Crit damage triangle, almost no potency added. It's really just not worth the trouble. Just over 10,000 offense, so like 1,700 less than Aesop. And that's what I'm saying when, I'll have higher critical strikes in my crit damage set, but you'd actually, if you cared to, you'd have to sit down and do the math to figure out just how hard each way would slap if you were really curious to know. So this is why I say the set types here between offense and crit damage are mostly going to be based on what you actually have. I think mathematically, crit damage is going to crit harder, but let's say that your best crit damage set is sacrificing a ton of offense as opposed to running an offense set with a crit damage triangle. You may well find that the crit at the end of it all could be larger under the offense set. However, I'm comfortable with the way this is set up. So he's just over 10,000 offense, over 110% crit chance, which is a great mark to shoot for anybody running a crit damage set. Being over 100% crit chance is a solid choice, especially since, you've got people running around out there with crit avoidance arrows, and there's crit avoidance handed out on Datacrons pretty frequently. So pushing yourself on up there if you're going to be in a crit damage set is a nice choice. And it's only 20% CC added to get to that mark, so not so bad. All right, last but never least, applications. Let me pull that back on up. Now, we finished up 3 versus 3. This is showing him as a lead, and I think that's vanishingly rare that you would be doing that. Let's try this a slightly different way. Members, 8th Brother. Let's look that up, yeah? Okay, now we're talking. Now here's some uses, offensive uses people were making do with 8th Brother last 3 versus 3 season. So you can use him with Grand Inquisitor in 7th to take on Qui-Gon. Certainly, yeah, I mean, this team's going to do pretty well in general against Jedi. But you'll see that the win rates sharply drop off when you're not using something like Grand Inquisitor or Reva as the lead. So take note. Eighth Brother is a hard slapper, but it's still got to be within the environment of a decent composition of an Inquisitorious team, all right? So you're seeing that it's destroying all manner of Jedi, lower-end Jedi teams like Qui-Gon and so forth. You've got a Reva lead that's, of course, going after Finn. Let's see. Wow, Reva, 8th Brother, and GI, 78% win rate. But that was against Leia, so that's pretty impressive. All right, more of the usual suspects, I'd say, from here. And then the win rates start to get unreliable. Now, where do I switch this over to 5s? Where do I switch this over to 5s? Squads, attacking, and then we'll go ahead and put... There we go. All right. Oh, yeah. Well, we're going to have too many options to see here. Again, I can go ahead and select here and show you just Reva. So, Saw teams, Jedi teams, Trench, Dash Afra, Starkiller, Bastille Elite Jedi, Bamley, Bounty Hunters, Oh, wow, yeah. It took on Gungans. Yep, last 5 vs. 5 season when we didn't have the new Gungan Datacron set. So that was also before we had the latest Inquisitorious Datacron set. So I imagine this still works here in 5s, which will be important to know. Gungans is going to be a key matchup here for the next 5 vs. 5 season. I think you're getting the idea, though. Like, the main principle behind Reva Lead is you want to choose teams that have the means of dispelling themselves, because Reva will penalize that by putting Deathmark on them. All right, now let's back up one and see if I can't do this with... Okay, I mean, that really wasn't what I was looking to do, bub. Can you give me this? Okay, no, not quite. Battle list. There we go. Attack, members, EI. We're all getting used to this new Swugga.gg update. It's really clean looking, I will say that. All right, we'll choose this one to look at. So let's assume that if you didn't have Reva lead, you might employ this under GI lead. Kelleran Beck falls. Qui-Gon, of course. What else we got? I expect this data will be more thin, because usually at the time that you're having, pretty strong Inquisitors, you're probably getting your Reva. But you're seeing that, yeah, almost universally people are choosing to hunt. Here you go. Here's a Dash team. You've got a couple people that have some Dispel or Self-Dispel going on, and you'll punish them for that. And don't forget, under Reva's lead, anytime an ally, an enemy is recovering, I think it's a light side enemy, is recovering protection or gaining protection up, they're also losing 2% defense, stacking up to 50%. So, I mean, what doesn't die on the first salvo will probably not survive the second. You got Dash teams, Finn teams, of course. What else we got out here? Wow, this is such a cool looking scroll. Yeah, it's just more Jedi and Dash and Scoundrel teams, so I don't want to limit your imagination here. But yeah, Grand Inquisitor lead is the most effective choice if you don't have Reva. And you can still see that basically if you're choosing to take this after just about any form of non-galactic legend Jedi, it's a slam dunk. And I would say if somebody sets JML, this team would certainly run roughshod over it. Your only concern running Grand Inquisitor lead against a Jedi team might be against JMK. I don't think you necessarily have the right tools to deal with all that. All right? Reva can handle business, though. Okay, guys, that about wraps this one up, and we'll see you in the very next video. We'll cover Second Sister to finish out the Inquisitorius faction. Again, thank you so much for watching this series. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like. Subscribe to the channel to get notified when more things pop up. Really appreciate your support, the very warm, supportive comments, DMs on Discord. Really appreciate the feedback. Glad you guys are loving this series. And until next time, it's been real. It's been awesome. It's been real awesome. Take care.